Well, good evening. Good evening. The hour is late, but welcome to day 167 of Walking Through the Bible. I am not going to be on very long at all. If you did read these chapters, you will understand why I'm not going to be on long, okay? I just want to go over a few things really quick. We are on First Kings 9, chapter 9, as well as Second Chronicles chapter 8. Okay, so I'm going to kind of go over really quick what the chapters were about. And if you did read them, then you know they kind of mirror or parallel each other or mimic each other a little bit. Okay, so we have First Kings opening up. We see Solomon, who spends 20 years building the temple and his home, right? We also see that he builds a home for his wife. Of course, he has multiple wives. And it's interesting because normally they would build different houses for or tents for different wives, for each wife. So each wife would have a tent or a house in that particular time frame. Wow, guys, I didn't think anybody was going to get on. It is kind of late, but welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening. I see you guys getting on. But in this case, it's really interesting because usually the main wife would stay with the husband, but we see that he did not do that. Basically, he said, "You are a pagan and you're going to be outside of anywhere that's close to the ark." Okay, so he kind of puts his main squeeze outside of of the city in a sense. But we see that happen. Then we see when we go down a couple verses, we see where Solomon builds 20 cities, I guess, as a possible gift for King Hiram. But Hiram didn't like them. Okay. And then the chapter also goes into the Canaanites. I'm just in First Kings 9 right now. And again, Second Chronicles 8 really kind of mimics a little bit and mirrors First Kings 9. Okay. So we see after that the Canaanites were building all throughout Israel because of course the Israelites, because of the law, were able to be enslaved and building. So Solomon kind of found a loophole there and had the Canaanites building all throughout Israel. So I'm just going to share really quick because the chapter was a little bit fast, but I wanted to share just a few differences in regards to the chapters that we read because again, they were quite similar. So if you did read them, you see a lot of it kind of seems like you're reading the same chapter again. So some of the things that were different was one, God's warning. Okay, so God's warning appears in Kings only. Okay, if Solomon and Israel remain faithful, the kingdom will be established. If they turn to other gods, the temple would be destroyed. Okay, so Chronicles focuses more on the temple's glory and worship rather than the warning and judgment. So if you do read First Kings and you look at Second Chronicles, you will see that difference there with the lengthy warning that God gives to Solomon in regards to them obeying and remaining faithful in First Kings compared to Second Chronicles. Okay. Two, First Kings 9:10 to 14, and Chronicles 8:1 to 2. Okay, there's a difference where one king says Solomon gives Hiram 20 cities. Chronicles says Hiram gives cities to Solomon. Okay, so a lot of the debate with that is if this is due to different tradition or different interpretation. So we know even from reading scripture and knowing scripture, just like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and like we know there are different perspectives and different interpretations, which can give you different as far different texts and different ways of looking at it and different storylines in a little bit, but it'll be the same thing, but it's a different perspective. Just like if you and I we're telling a story, I might see some things, maybe more details than you might, or you might see the sky is blue and it might look dark when I'm telling it. So there's always different perspectives in looking at the Bible. So it's not really sure or confirmed. Scholars do debate about that, if it's due to the difference in tradition or if it's just different interpretations. Okay. Um, Pharaoh's daughter in Second Chronicles 8:11, it says Solomon moving Pharaoh's daughter because the places associated with the ark were holy. Okay, we don't see that in First Kings 9. Okay, so that's another difference between the two. So if you're going back, if you're reading this, if you're going through them, you can kind of take a look at some of these key verses and scriptures, and you can kind of see the difference. Even though it is parallel, there's still some differences and some similarities. Okay. Temple worship, Second Chronicles 8:12 to 16, more details in regards to the priests, Levites, sacrificial schedule established by Moses, the organization established by David. Okay. So those are some of the key differences in the two chapters that we did read on today. Okay. So in summary, First Kings evaluates kings based on covenant faithfulness and explains why the kingdom eventually fell. Okay. Second Chronicle was written later, likely after exile, and emphasizes worship, the temple, David's dynasty, and reasons for hope and restoration. Okay. So Chronicles, in a sense, kind of mimics not only Kings, but it mimics Samuel as well. Okay, so you'll see that just in the Bible, just in general. Okay, so Second Chronicles is basically a retelling of First Kings 9. Okay, so there's less emphasis on judgment, more attention to temple worship, which we just kind of talked about. Additional details and events are described a little bit differently. Okay, so we did read First Kings 9 and Second Chronicles 8 today. So if you did not read it and you're reading it now, when you go back through, just kind of take a look at some of the differences that are in there, because sometimes it can seem like because I know at first just reading it, if you read it at a glance, it's like, wow, I just read the same thing over, but there are key differences when you actually take a look at those scriptures and take a look at those verses to see that there are some differences and some similarities. Okay, so thank you guys for joining us again. I told you guys I was going to be quick because there wasn't a lot in that particular chapter. But I did want to go over some of the differences so that when we're reading and studying, we can take a look at that to see, oh, wow, this is in there, but it's not in there, or this is in that verse, but it's not in this verse. So just keep that in mind as we're moving forward. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you again tomorrow for walking through the Bible. I hope everyone has a wonderful night, and we look forward to seeing you. Have a wonderful night. Love you all. Thanks for joining us. Night, night.